Now, as we continue the fourth sabbatical reading and study from Genesis, the Orit and the Torah reading from Genesis chapter 18 to chapter 22, that's known according to the Hebraics and Judaics as Vayera, the Hebraics as Vayera 5771, and according to the Ethiopic as Tegelet 7503. Now what we had also begun to do was to compare the Hebrew, as we've had the time and opportunity, and as many of you know, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. So we've had much to do, and I'm involved in much on behalf of the ministry of His Imperial Majesty, and we give thanks for those who have recognized their responsibility and have tithed and given offerings towards this ministry and have prayed for it and helped to support us in this particular work of the dissemination of the good news of the King of Kings and His Christ. But one thing that we've had some opportunity to go into and wanted to share with you is comparing the Hebrew with the Ethiopic, and the Ethiopic with the Royal Amharic of the Methaf Keddus of the Amharic Bible of Haile Selassie. And in comparing the title that's known according to the Judaics will call this particular fourth Sabbath Vayera, right? Vayera, and he appeared, and it appeared, based on. Let's bring the scriptures right here. Let's look at the King James. Look at the Bible. It says, "And the Lord appeared unto him in the plain of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day." This is the first part of the sabbatical reading that would be done. Be'keterim gizeh arsu bedin kwanu dejaf tekemto sale እግዚአብሔር በመምሬ Yadbar Razaf Tegalet Alet. That's the first verse of the reading and the first verse of chapter Me'eraf Asarasament, chapter 18. Now, as you see in the English, it says, "And the Lord appeared," or Yahweh እግዚአብሔር Lotu Sabhat appeared to him in the plains of Mamre. One thing important to note about the name Mamre. Mamre is clearly, when you study the etymology in the ancient languages and the Kemet and the Niter, you find that Memre, or Mamre, as it's said in the English, Memre, Bamarinya, the Ethiopic, is actually a Kamite name. The name Memre, or Mamre, is a Kamite name. So there is, in studying the etymology, you understand, of the Ethiopic, comparing the Hebrew and putting in the proper Ethiopic Genesis, you understand, related to the wisdom of Muse, or Moses, who was learned in all the wisdom of the ancient Egyptians, recognizing that natural Genesis and ancient Egypt, the light of the world in the sense of the illumination of the Bible, is made possible by a diligent study of ancient Egypt in this proper context. And once again, we reference Gerald Macy, the writings and the studies of Gerald Macy's, and there's others that we also reference as we go forward. So this is an important note on the name Memre that we wanted to make note of. And part of this name, Mem-Re, two parts. Well, if you look at the hieroglyphics, Mem and Re of this particular name, Mamre, and if you look in the second part, Re, which is a contraction of Rai, you understand, and Rai, Bamarinya, and in the Ethiopic means vision. So this is why this first word, each of the sabbatical, the Torah portions to be read on the Sabbath, the senbet day, in remembrance. This is how we remember. We remember by studying And interesting, the memory is called the MAMRE, MAMRE and MEMORY, you understand? And to keep the senbet holy, what to keep? To remember the Sabbath day, the senbet day, the senbet ken, to keep it keddus, to keep it set apart, or to keep it holy. So MEMRE, we use our memory, and here EOC Yahweh appeared to our ancestor Abraham. Where did he appear? In the plains of Mamre. Now, when you look at this word plains, make a note there, make some sort of highlight or note on the first verse, just to show how much is in this when we really start to study it and we start to put it into perspective. There's great wealth in it. This is why when it says in Scripture that he knows our poverty, but we are rich. You know what I'm saying? So we need to focus on where we are rich and how we are enriching, especially in the spiritual and in the soul, the psychical, the menfes. You know what I'm saying? The ness, so that we will be blessed even here on earth. You know what I'm saying? Because the blessings actually come from above. They come from the higher levels of our consciousness or heaven. So here, in the very first verse, according to the Judaics, it is Vayera. According to its proper Hebraics, it is Vayera. Now, when we compare this with the Ethiopic, it is We'asteraye. We'asterayo, actually. We'asterayo. We'asterayo. Tario. Tario. Terio. Teriayo. Tereyo, Terayo. So we have Reaye. Once again, Reaye, Reayo, Reayo. As the book of Revelation is known as Yohannes Rai, or the vision of Yohannes. Yohannes being properly interpreted as Jah's grace, or Yahweh, Jehovah's grace, Yahweh's grace. When you interpret names, so we said there's much importance in the meaning of name, especially in our Bible studies, so that we can have a full consciousness, you understand, and can know the full truth. You understand? Ye shall know the truth, so we can have that full knowledge. You understand? This is part of our maturing. This is part of our growth. This is vital for our growing. So just on this first verse, we have now the Ethiopic, which says We'asterayo, the Hebrew Wayera or Wayere. So we have a ray. The idea is the raye, the array, as we find in Mamre's name, as well as in the Sabbatical command. You understand? To remember. You understand? To use our memory. You understand? So where was Abraham when Yahweh Egziavahir Malet, when he revealed himself to him? Be memre adba zaf tegelet elet. Now, Genesis says plains. That word plains there is quite erroneous or misleading, because when we look at the Amharic, we find adbar zaf. Zaf means tree in Amharic, as the word it in the qidus means tree in the Amharic. Now, it is said to refer to herb, you understand? But that's also another particular study. But here, speaking that Abraham was sitting, you understand? While Abraham was sitting by his tent door in the heat, or in noon, at noon, Be'eterim Gizeh. So even the time of day that he stood, according to the scriptures, according to the mythos, that which is written, you understand, and the parable is very important. He was sitting at the heat, during the heat of the day, or what ones will call in the noon of the day, be'keterim gizei arsu bedinkwanu de jaf tekamto sale እግዚአብሔር በመምሬ የአድባር ዛፍ ተገለጠለት. So Yahweh, he who is who he is, the Lord, appeared to Abraham in the plains of Mamre, in the plains, actually at the tree, a particular tree. It was the Adbar, and the Adbar is associated with the oak tree in the Hebrew, and what's called the Elim, and there's a whole etymological similarity between Elim and Elohim when we study the Hebraics. And then the Adbar Zaf is also the emblem or the totem tree of the Oromo people of Ethiopia, who once were called the Gala, which is a whole other subject matter right there as well.
Silence covered the sky.